Have you ever had that feeling that someone is watching you? That sense of dread creeping up your spine even when you're alone? I never believed in those things. The things people say go bump in the night. I thought it was all just stories, until one night when I found out the truth, and I never felt safe in my own home again. It started about 3 weeks ago when I moved into this old house on the outskirts of town. The kind of place that feels a little too quiet, too still. At first it seemed perfect for me. The price was great and it was in a peaceful area, exactly what I needed after a tough few months. But from the very first night, something felt off. I had just finished unpacking and was lying on my bed, staring at the ceiling, trying to shake off the stress of the move. But then, I heard it. A sound. A creak from above, like someone was walking around in the attic. My heart raced. The house was old, sure, but I figured it was just the wind or the house settling, right? Still, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The next night, the creaks were louder, more deliberate. I convinced myself it was just the pipes or maybe animals, maybe squirrels in the attic. But when I tried to shake it off, I heard a noise that made my blood run cold. A faint dragging sound, followed by a soft thump. I froze. I didn't want to believe it. I really didn't. But when I listened closer, it wasn't the sound of anything normal. No rodent or animal would drag itself across the floor like that. And the thump? It sounded like footsteps. Heavy footsteps. I knew I had to check. My hands were shaking as I grabbed the flashlight from my drawer, my pulse pounding in my ears. The attic door was at the end of the hallway, just a few steps away. My breath quickened. I kept telling myself it was nothing, just the house being old. But what if it wasn't? What if something was up there? I reached the attic door and hesitated for a moment, feeling an overwhelming sense of dread take hold of me. The cold air that seeped from under the door felt unnatural, like it was waiting for me. I turned the handle slowly, barely able to breathe, and slowly pushed the door open. The darkness beyond the door was overwhelming. I couldn't see anything except the vague outline of old boxes and furniture covered in dusty sheets. The flashlight trembled in my hand as I scanned the room, trying to pierce through the darkness. My breath was ragged. Suddenly, my light caught something. Someone standing in the far corner of the room. A man, just standing there. His face was hidden in shadow, his body still, but the air around him felt like it was suffocating me. I couldn't speak. I couldn't move. For a moment, it felt like time stopped. And then, his head tilted slowly toward me. Slowly, too slowly. I wanted to run, to scream, but my body wouldn't respond. His eyes glowed faintly, like they were reflecting the light from my flashlight. His stare sent chills crawling down my spine, and before I could react, he disappeared. Just like that. Vanished into the darkness. I backed out of the room, the door slamming shut behind me, but the image of him stayed with me, burned into my mind. My heart pounded in my chest as I struggled to catch my breath. I tried to tell myself it was just a trick of the light, a figment of my imagination maybe. But that night I couldn't sleep. Every creak, every shadow, every whisper in the dark sent me spiraling into panic. For days, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. I thought I was imagining things until the sounds came back, louder now, the dragging, the footsteps. They were no longer just confined to the attic. I would hear them when I was downstairs, when I was alone. Soft whispers in the corners of rooms. The hairs on the back of my neck would stand up, and I'd feel that icy chill at the nape of my neck. The man in the attic wasn't just in the attic anymore. He was in the house. One evening, I couldn't take it anymore. I had to know what was going on. I went up to the attic again, determined to face whatever was haunting me. This time, I was ready. Or so I thought. I opened the attic door, heart pounding, and shone my flashlight into the room. It was empty. But then I heard it. A whisper right behind me.
Leave, now.
I spun around, but there was no one there. The air in the attic had turned frigid, and I could barely breathe. My body moved on its own, backing out of the room, and then I saw it. A figure in the corner of the attic, the same man, but this time he wasn't standing still. He was moving toward me. I couldn't take it. I ran. I didn't care what I left behind. I didn't care about anything except getting away from that thing, from him, the man in the attic. I never went back to that house. I left the next day and I haven't set foot in it since. But the memories, the images, they haunt me every night. I can still hear his voice and his footsteps dragging closer. Every time I close my eyes, I feel his cold, empty gaze, and I know he's still waiting somewhere.